said I got to say something, baby, hand me the mic. I said I got to say something, better hand me the mic. Somebody hand me a mic, cause I got to say something, so just hand me a mic. When I need to say something, better hand me the mic. I said I got to say something, better hand me the mic.
I know some people that don't have tellies.
Yeah, I know.
I've
got some sort of admiration for that, but it would be too hard, that.
Fact is, right, do you know what it is? If you lived alone
Yeah.
and you had a decent monitor, then yeah, you wouldn't need a telly, in theory. The thing is with a television, it's like a communal thing, innit? You can sit down.
It is a communal thing. Yeah.
Like, even if it's something you're not even bothered about watching, it's just, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's like,
There was a family that we knew growing up, and they didn't have a telly, and their kids, like, they made so much stuff. It was mad. Like, they owned Lord of the Rings, and they had, like, hundreds of, like, arrows that they'd, like, gone to the woods and, like, just formed.
no way.
Super creative.
Proper creative.
Yeah.
I
Like,
mean,
mad.
like, growing up as a kid, like, I mean, you would, that's what you would turn to, you know? You would.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I wouldn't, like, you know. I think the telly saved me, to be honest. I was a horrible little kid. Horrible. I was a nightmare. A little toe rag, Mum used to call me.
What, like, when you were a little kid?
Yeah, just hyperactive, wouldn't sit still, like, knocking everything over, wouldn't shut up, you know, just one of them,
Yeah.
like...
What calmed you down on the telly?
I don't think anything calmed me down, but I was a Disney kid. I was
Really?
I was big in that. I was plonked in front
Selena
of...
Gomez and that?
Yeah. No. I'm a very old man, mate. So I was watching, like, Jungle Book, Sword in the Stone, you know, this sort of stuff. I mean, real
Sword
Disney.
in the Stone.
You know what I mean? Real
The original Disney.
Dumbos, like, Cinderellas. Yeah, that was...
wow.
That's what, you know, that's what I remember. I remember a bit older. Everyone... there was, like, a thing in Darlington. I don't know if you got it up your way. South Park, you wouldn't even have been born. But when I was about 8 or 9, in the early 90s, a company called Comcast came out.
Right.
And it was cable. Cable TV, not Sky. It was cable. And it was dead clever. They went through all the council estates, probably in the northeast. I just can only speak for Darlington. They went through all the council estates and gave people free cable. Right. The deal was, the Comcast man came round. We'd only had 1, 2, 3, 4 up until then. There was no 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he'd installed cable. And obviously then you've got Cartoon Network and there was things like The Simpsons on and like Nickelodeons. And I'd never seen these sorts of programs before. So it was like it was...
Big upgrade.
Yeah, literally massive. Now, granted, it was a very clever tactic because after about 6 months or a year, they're like, oh, if you want to keep it, you have to pay.
And then you're addicted.
Everybody pays.
Yeah.
Everybody.
You can't take a program away from a kid when they're hooked. Nah.
Very.
If I took Paw Patrol away from Bridget, I'd be in big trouble.
Big trouble.
That's the month just ended.
Problems.
Yeah, flipping heck.
Yeah. It's not worth living, is it?
No.
But yeah, free cable.
Yeah.
You have no free cable up your way. How old are you, Joe?
28. So, are you 25, Southpaw?
I'm 24, thank you very
24.
much.
All right, sorry.
24, yeah.
Oh, you're about 16.
Sure.
I'm only joking. No, you're very mature head, actually. For your
I
age.
am, mate. I like to think so.
Yeah, but well, do you remember Southpaw from being a kid? Did you have Sky already installed?
I was...
I like that this is the measurement of your childhood.
Yeah.
What was your TV
Did
format?
you have Sky? No, we never had Sky, to be fair, but I did have the Disney Channel, Disney XD.
Yeah.
That was quite good.
How did you have the Disney Channel if you didn't have some kind of satellite or...
Oh, no, yeah, we had a TV. Yeah, of course we had a TV.
Terrestrial telly consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to have something else to add the more channels. What was your something else?
I didn't know that was the crap.
I don't know, just Virgin Media Plus or something. I don't
There
know.
it is, you had Virgin. To say that's Sky's competition.
Yeah, so no, we were always Virgin people. Then, just loved my Disney shows. A bit of Phineas and Ferb.
Two, like, Disney buffs here. Like,
Yeah.
You're not a Disney buff, Joe?
No, but
Phineas.
I'm up for learning if you want to teach us a
No,
thing or
remember
two.
Phineas and Ferb?
Is that Disney, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I don't know that, like. Is it like a recent thing, is it?
Yeah, I don't know. Let me just get it
What were you
up.
plonked in front of, Joe? Or were you not plonked?
I used to like a lot of like Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon
Yeah.
was all right. A bit of Drake and Josh.
Bit of Rugrats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Disney
Yeah,
XD
bit of
I'm
Rugrats,
talking about. But yeah, I like Nickelodeon as well. That was quite good.
Hey, who remembers Keenan and Kel?
Keenan and Kel was good.
Was that good or was that
fucking
good?
Isn't one of them on SNL now as well? Or has been? Yeah,
That must
he's
be
the
old.
bigger one.
Yeah, the big lad.
Yeah. I
Keenan
think he's
and
on
Kel.
SNL, yeah.
That Keenan.
I don't even know what that is.
Keenan and Kel?
No.
How man, you're only 4 years younger than me.
No.
Oh, to be fair, I don't remember what it was about. I remember that one of them used to work in a shop, and obviously the tagline, who loves orange soda.
Kel does.
Spot on.
That's how it was. Yeah, man. Keen and Kel, like, soundtrack of
That was
life.
a good one, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't even know this was a thing.
You never seen this before, no?
No.
This was hilarious.
This was
in
good.
fairness,
It was good, yeah.
it must have been on a long time because I feel like they went from kids to men on the
He
show.
looks high as a
Yeah.
kite there, him.
I mean, he probably is. To be fair,
Maybe.
tell you what, they've come under some scrutiny recently, haven't they?
Keenan and Kel.
Why?
He wants safe from being cancelled these days.
Nickelodeon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I won't go into it on this show, but there's a few claims being made. Let's just
dear.
say your imagination can run wild with that, and it is what you think. You know, nice. Anyway,
That's my childhood ruined.
yeah, sorry about that, guys. So, are we rolling, Southpaw?
We are rolling.
We are rolling. So, this is people like us. We don't do the episode thing anymore, like because we don't know when we post them, right?
it was getting very confusing. That
Very confusing.
trying to figure out
Lot
which
of people
one.
would.
Nevertheless, it is people like us. And today is a right pleasure. So I'm going to try and do one off the bat. You know, I had one wrote down today.
Yeah.
So today's guest is firstly a dear friend. He's a very talented guy. Most importantly, he's a father. He loves sound. And we're very grateful and thankful that he's now became our sound guy. So all you people who enjoy what we do and like what you hear, it's mainly part to Joe. Today's guest is Joe Draper.
Cue all the comments of people absolutely ripping apart the sound.
Joe, your sound is immaculate.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
To be fair, you've warned, as you've said, your acoustic paneling is doing nothing. You have an arched roof, and you're doing a podcast, what you're playing at. So given the circumstance, and I chew, and I get too close to the mic, and I've got no, like literally
Constantly banging the mic. as
banging,
well.
eating swedes, slurping. Considering everything you're up against, you do amazing, Joe.
Yeah.
You do amazing.
I
Do you
mean,
know?
we are in a barn. Sorry to interrupt. But
Yeah, we are in a
we're
barn.
in a barn.
Just look,
It's a
everybody.
nice barn.
It's
Look up.
a nice barn. Yeah.
No, you're not looking up. Look up. Don't then. Anyway, so yeah, today we're joined by Joe Draper. Joe Draper, ladies and gentlemen, is the proper term a sound guy? Is that it?
Yeah.
You're the sound guy?
Yeah.
You do the sound.
I
for
do the
podcast.
sound, yeah.
You do the sound for the podcast. You do
And
it
I'm
for
a guy. I'm a guy.
Yeah. You do it for the day job too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's your job. Well, tell you what, Joe. Just so people can get a bit of a you don't have to do it in different languages. We'll just cater to the English audience for now. But for everybody here, let's just find out a little bit about you before we have a bit crack, because we've got Ben to deal with at some point. For the regular viewers, Ben was supposed to be here, but he's very, very unwell. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, Joe, let's talk about you, right?
Okay.
Let the viewers find out who Joe Draper is, right? Where did you grow up? Where were you born?
Chester Street.
Chesterley Street.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. So
I'm not like.
jokes and that. So, what was your upbringing like? So I know. Look, I'm going to spoil the story. You had a Christian upbringing, right?
Yeah.
So was that a major thing in life? Did that remove you from other people, or
No, it never removed us from other people. It was a big thing. Like, it was a big part of my parents' life. Like, they moved to the northeast to plant a church,
right?
and it's always generationally as well. Like, my grandparents on both sides,
Right.
Christians, preachers.
I didn't know they planted a church.
Yeah. They moved to plant a church. Like, it doesn't mean they were the pastors,
Right.
But they were part of the group of people that moved up to do it,
So
or
which-
that they joined.
Which church was that?
I don't know.
You
I'm
don't know?
not sure. I don't know. It's quite definitely more back in the day. It's quite common to plant a church, and then that community then be self-sufficient, and you might only be there for a few years or something like that. But yeah, it was but that was like unpaid, so it's obviously a big thing for a family to do, to move from like Leicester, I think they were in at the time. Right. Yeah, a massive part of growing up, but it never removed us from anyone. It was just always something that was. It was just always there, as I was just doing the normal things that every kid would do.
Right. Because I've heard two stories, like experiences, like in my life. Like you and Ben, if this is the case with you as well, you seem to be, like you said, it's the Christian upbringing, but you've still got on with the other kids that weren't Christian.
Yeah,
It's just been normal. It's just you had your own beliefs.
Sure, yeah.
I've also heard another way, and I know Christians like this who did have a Christian upbringing, but they were completely,
I know people like that.
detached. And that actually played a part when they got older. I'm going to say it, like they ended up a bit weird because they weren't in community with, yes, they were in community at church, but they weren't in community with the other kids at school, and they weren't. So it always interests me because I never grew up like that, you know? And the person I'm speaking about who did have the Christian upbringing, we had one at school, like this one kid, and I think you've probably heard the story. He was the yellow lunchbox guy. You know?
Oh no!
Bless him. With the woolly jumper. That was him. That was him.
Right.
Yeah. He had anyway, he was a lovely kid. Lovely kid. He had no chance, bless him. But because he was never allowed to play out with the other kids, you would never see him outside of school. Bless him. He had no friends, man. And obviously when you're a kid, you're savage, he was funny. But when you get older, you look back and think, oh, poor kid. And I'm never it makes me think, is that right?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I definitely know people like that. Obviously, I can't speak for every single parent, but I think definitely for some of those parents, there's an element of protection where for some reason, circumstantial or belief, I don't know, they feel like they need to protect their kid from things.
The wide world.
Yeah, and there'd be degrees of that probably. So I don't remember my parents ever saying you can't watch The Simpsons.
Right.
But I remember thinking that was a bit on the edge when I was a little kid for some reason. I'm sure they never said that to us.
No. Yeah.
That's a ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah.
But so obviously there's degrees. And then to the degree where you're saying your friend is completely removed. So I think you need to give your kid the tools to make up their own mind.
You think?
Yeah.
When you grew up, were you given the tools to make up your own mind?
Yeah. My parents were very, very conscious of saying, making sure they didn't influence, not just in terms of faith, in terms of our big life decisions generally, that they'd never told us what to do.
Never.
In terms of not in saying they didn't discipline us, as in, when it came to life decisions, they never told us what to do. They would always say, give us their opinion if we asked for it. But it was always our decision.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. And my dad is super wise, and he won't give his opinion unless you ask for it. But when he does, it's been thought about. And my mum is super supportive and mega loving, and so we were definitely given the tools, and they definitely told us what they believed, and we went to church, but it was never forced. It was never forced.
In a hypothetical world, that be the case. In another reality, in another dimension, let's say you'd got to 14, 15, you'd have turned around and said, Mum, Dad, I don't want none of this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go buy 20 fags, going to get a bottle of cider. I'm going to go down that path. I'll be fine. Trust me, but I ain't having any of this.
Yeah.
What do you think they'd have said? Do you think they'd have just said, okay? Or do you think they'd have...
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, I think they would have said, yeah, I think, well, yeah, for sure.
Huh.
I think they would have said, I've got two brothers, I've got a brother and a sister as well, who are both older than me. So, they went through different things growing up. And I know for a fact that they would have been supportive of us and fully loving of us, that, and they would have said what they think's best for us, but they wouldn't have forced it. And what's the point? What is the point of, there's a phrase that if someone can convince you of something else, someone else can convince you out of it. And the whole point of faith is that it's God that convinces you.
Right.
And that has to be between you and God.
Right.
If a person convinces you of it, someone else can convince you out of it. What is the point of programming a kid to do whatever you've done? Because
it's quite
it's not
wise.
genuine. So what's the point?
And especially with kids as well. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, if I ever got told don't do that, it just made me want to do it more. Yeah. So I do see that.
So I definitely grew up believing it, probably at first like a kid believes in Santa. My parents told me it's real, so it's real. It was definitely it was deeper than that. But then there was a point in just before becoming a teenager, or when I just became a teenager, there was oh no, this is real, I believe, and this is between me and God, and like this isn't my parents' faith. This is God coming to me.
When you should say, Sandy, you just made me think of something, Joe. Sorry to interrupt. When I was a kid, I've never noticed this before. If you'd have asked me 5 minutes ago, when did you start believing in God? I could tell you. And I thought, I got really into it when I was 29. That's what I thought.
I didn't know that.
But you've just said that, and that isn't true. You've literally made me remember something I have never, ever, ever remembered since I was a kid.
What's that?
I used to think God was Santa Claus.
You used to think God was Santa Claus?
When I was a kid, I used to say little prayers for things like trainers, right, and a bike.
Yeah.
But I prayed to Santa.
Right.
And I had a vision in my head of the stereotypical Santa in his red suit in like a workshop.
Wow.
And that was who I used to pray to.
That's funny.
Yeah. Huh. You've just literally...
That's funny.
You know, exclusive for everybody there. I did believe in God when I was a kid, but it was... he looked like Santa Claus. To be fair...
Who knows?
To be fair, the stereotypical Santa Claus and the stereotypical God they're not a million miles away.
No.
It's just the outfit. Do you know what I mean? It's just the
swag.
Yeah, that's it. You know, Santa goes for a more, cold look, and God's more of a, tropical climate type. Get up in it. Do you know what I mean? It's warm down there, isn't it? You know what I mean? Warm summers in where they at? Jerusalem or somewhere? Jerusalem, innit?
Where God lives.
Yeah. Or where his kid was.
His kid.
Do you know what I mean?
I mean, that's true, technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Israel, yeah.
Israel, yeah. It's warm.
Yeah, fact.
So he couldn't wear a Santa suit.
No.
He looked daft.
I mean, he could.
He'd be boiling, wouldn't he?
If he done, yeah.
Absolutely boiling. No, you just said there, when you were a teenager, or just before you were a teenager, you had that moment where, or not moment, that's what I'm going to dig into. Was it a moment? When did you, there must have been something that made you think this stuff's real.
I think about fairly often because in church you hear a lot of testimonies, and some people's testimonies are super radical. So like, they live this crazy lifestyle, completely disconnected from God, no history in the family, and then they have this like crazy moment where God does something dramatic, and then it's black and white. God is real, no doubt. He's done this. And if you've grown up as a Christian, sometimes there's this thing where you feel like, is my story less significant because there wasn't like one dramatic moment? So I think fairly regularly about when that point was. And I was thinking in the car on the way here, I think it was probably, I remember one point, so when you're in Christianity, depending on what you believe, there's like baptism in water, which is like fully submerged, and there's baptism in the Holy Spirit. And
what's the Holy Spirit one?
The Holy Spirit. So like, the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Spirit.
Is that the same, the oil thing?
I don't really know. We don't really do.
What's the thing when they like symbiote?
I think I'm not entirely sure. I think that's like symbolizing the Spirit, but I don't really know. Yeah, and at the time, I think I was probably like 13. I remember thinking, there's more to this that I don't know about. And I didn't know what it was, being baptized in the Holy Spirit. I just know between two services on a Sunday, people getting prayed to be filled with the Holy Spirit. And I was just, this is the God convincing me bit, because I was just out of nowhere. I was like, I want that. If there's more to this faith that I don't know about, no one had ever told me about this baptism in the Holy Spirit. I was like, I definitely want that.
So it wasn't
I remember that moment, and people praying for you to be filled with the Holy Spirit. And on that, I think from then onwards, probably it became a real, really cemented in my life. And like, it was God that convinced us at that point. And it probably sounds mental if you're not a Christian to say a word like the Spirit, because you think of all sorts of connotations around spirits and things. But normal language and like Christian faith.
No, you're like with me. I mean, I can't speak on the behalf of viewers, but for me, I'm somebody I'm that rarity that was probably completely not and then completely in. Do you know what I mean? So like, I ask from a point of curiosity.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely intrigued.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
What was it for you?
An event, a life event, a very impactful event, a life-changing event that, it was bad. Like most people as adults, if they haven't had the upbringing, if they find their way into church and they become Christian, more often than not, it's because something bad's happened. That's normally what happens. Often, it isn't just normally that somebody wakes up one Sunday and says, I'm going. Not saying it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Of course it does. But you'd probably find most people it's because of something bad. You'd be surprised how many people in prison end up Christians, you know.
Yeah.
So that was mine. That was my story. So I did have a thing. It was like chicken before the egg or whatever you say. It wasn't, I didn't get this overwhelming thing. I was straight up, I was scared. Yeah, I was terrified. It was, believe it or not, my story is quite cool. Like looking back, mine was a Christmas Eve. Mine had like the setting. Like mine was like a movie.
The time at midnight.
Yeah. It was, I think it was 2015. Yeah, 2015. And it was Christmas Eve. And to cut an incredibly long story short, I found myself at 11 o'clock at night in a state of absolute, my world had crumbled. Like, I mean, it was my lowest ever point in life. And where I live in a flat, and it is about 50 yards away, if that, 30 yards away from Holy Trinity Church. And from my car park, where I park my car on a night, you can see over the 2 or 3 houses next to me is like wall. There's like a 6 foot high wall. Yeah. But obviously you can see the church in the background. And I didn't even know churches were open on a night. And I remember sitting in my car just having this horrendous like time and looked up and I could see it was lit up.
Right.
It was light because there was people in it, obviously. And it must have, come to think of it, it was probably like 11:30 because they were doing the Christmas Eve thing. Yeah. You know, where they do the midnight thing?
Yeah.
I've been every year since.
Right.
It's lovely. Anyway, so just wasn't really planned. I just thought go in there. And then before I knew it, it was really, like the story sounds really dramatic, but it's true. It was like snowing and like cold. Like it was all like really like, really like movie-esque. Anyway, and I wasn't dressed. I only had like t-shirt on, but I remember like t-shirt, like walking down and just thought, F it, let's just go in. And I went in and this is one of them old school churches, you know what I mean? Like pews and like organ and stuff. And I went in and there must have only been 7 or 8 people dotted, big, massive church, but so really big, like huge, classic looking church, big thing at the front, big altar and all that, big organ pipes. And I walked in, nobody looked at me. Everyone was just sat forward, so I just walked up and just jumped in a pew and just sat there for a bit and had a bit think. And I probably sat there. I sat there until the Christmas Eve like thing. Yeah. Some gaffer stood up and started saying something. I listened to him, and I forgot about my problems in that time. And I was sat listening to him, and then he basically told everyone to go home, like 12:30, like he does, whatever. And just felt, I guess I felt safe. I guess I felt that in here nothing bad can happen. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I guess maybe I like, I never really thought about it that deep really, but I guess maybe from there, my brain has like wired itself to say this is a safe place. Yeah, that's good. I guess. And then, I went home and I was like thinking about it. That was like, I felt better. You know, I was at home, of course, my problems hadn't gone away. I just felt like I had a strength that I didn't have before. I knew these things were there. Maybe it just made me feel braver. I don't know what it was. All the things I was still worried about were still there, but I felt like I wasn't alone anymore, if that makes sense. Absolutely, yeah. Really weird. I thought nothing else of it. Next day was Christmas Day, you know what I mean? Did the Christmas Day thing. I can't remember what day that was. That was like, it was like a weekday, Christmas Day then. Anyway, a few days later, it just dawned on me as I was pulling in my house one day, looked at the church and was like, And I thought, it's like a Sunday thing, right? And like, I didn't know. So I like Googled it and stuff, and like, I found like a very, very terrible website. And it said, basically turn up 10 a.m. Sunday. Yeah. Every Sunday. So I was like, all right. So I started turning up. Yeah. And then after, like they are, the people in there are lovely. Everybody in my place is like, the youngest person apart from me is like 60. It's all elderly people. But really nice, as they all are. You go in any of these places, doesn't matter whether you're going to this kind of one, you go in one of them, and people, their job is to bring you in. You're not going to be left alone. They're going to come over, they're going to talk to you, they want to make, you know what I mean? And they did, and it was lovely. And everybody was really nice. And yeah, that was the start of the story. That's how it began. And yeah, look, I'm definitely not an avid supporter, let's just say, but I couldn't imagine my life without it.
Yeah, right. Wow.
I would if ever a time happens that I can't go, it would only be if I was traveling. If I was on holiday, can't go. I don't feel right.
Yeah.
I feel like something's missing. And still to this day, all these years later, every week, I as most people do, I have my own problems, my own stresses, and I'm very wound up. And like everybody else, I have my own anxieties, my own chew. But it always feels like a refresh button.
Yeah.
Every Sunday I go in and I come out and it's like, everything's still there, but it's as if somebody's just pressed refresh and it's just cleaned it out and it's like, right, start again.
Yeah.
That's what happens every Sunday. And if I miss it, I haven't had that. So I'm like carrying the tension still. It's really weird. Maybe I'm using it in the wrong way. I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
But that's my story.
I feel the same. That's how I mean, life's been mental at the minute, but that's how I approach prayer.
Right.
Like on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like I say, life's been crazy currently, but which is that every morning it's like pre-second child particularly, every morning I'd just do 10 minutes and I wouldn't say anything to God. It would just be silent, get in a space that makes me feel connected to God, whether it be like so outside in the morning, something like that, a back step, and just be like, God, I'm just here and I'm listening to you and I'm resetting myself for the day for you. And that's exactly what it is for me. It's like a reset. Yeah, so it makes total sense what you're saying, absolutely. And yeah, well, it just makes sense.
Yeah, I always feel a little bit like guilty, like I'm abusing his power a little bit. Because I always think, I'm always asking. Do you know what I mean? I'm always asking. But we're his children though.
I guess. And you want your child to be able to ask you.
Yeah, I'm never asking. I'm always like asking for protection. Do you know what I mean? Just please let everything be all right.
You could ask for worse things than protection.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not asking for $1 million. I mean, I wouldn't mind £1 million if he's listening. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, I'd be all right with that, you know. But I'm not asking for that. I understand, like, he's busy. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I do ask for protection, like, every day. But
why protection?
I'm scared.
Right.
Scared of things in life. Yeah. Live in fear. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Terrified.
Of what?
Oh, mate, that's a different story for a different day. But let's just say I'm terrified. I'm terrified of, long story short, I'm terrified of the thing happening again, what happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know? It's like PTSD.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just can't get out of your head.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I do feel guilty sometimes.
You shouldn't feel guilty for asking for protection.
I'm like, can you not just say, I know, like, I've been in and you're supposed to say thank you. So, and I do try and remember to be thankful for what I've got, but I can't leave out the, please, can I have protection?
No.
Every day, you know?
Yeah, but that's what kids are like with their parents.
The way I see it is, there's probably like real like stand-up people like yourself who aren't asking.
I ask.
Oh, right.
I ask.
Well, okay, there'll be other people that are just saying thank you. And I'm like, so like there's loads of thank yous and then he's got to have the spoilt kids.
Well, the Bible talks about that God wants to give us the desires of our hearts.
Right.
Like, so he wants to know what our desires are. And when I first lived with, many people say this is coincidence. Maybe it was, who knows. I'm not like connecting dots, but when we were first living in London, we were looking for a flat. This isn't some crazy story. I'm just.
I didn't know you lived in
London. Saying
the
point. Yeah, I lived in London for like 4 years. When I first lived there, we were living on like a friend's floor for like 6 weeks. Me and a friend.
Nice.
Yeah, great, classic London. And my friend who is also Christian was just like, why don't you just ask God for exactly what you want? Don't just say, if it's your will, give us something nice. Just say, right, I want this flat. I want
this city.
I want newly refurbished. I want to live in this part of London.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
And a cement kettle.
Just ask him for exactly what you want. Like, why wouldn't you do that? So like, okay, and I did, and we got exactly what we want. And I'm not saying that that's definitely why.
No.
Maybe it was a good week on right move. I don't know.
Maybe.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, like, I believe that was why, but whatever. I'm just saying that, God wants to give you good things. Like, he's your dad. You want to give good things. I've heard you talk about fatherhood. Like, you want to give your kid good things, don't you?
Yeah.
So, like, you want them to be able to ask you. And the Bible talks about us being able to approach the throne with boldness.
Yeah.
So, like, you want your kid, like when my daughter wants something, she's not shy about it.
Oh.
And I'm glad that she's not, because I wouldn't want my daughter to be, like, shy around me.
No.
So no, you shouldn't feel bad about asking for something.
No.
Even things that are more material than protection. Like we're looking for a house at the moment, and I'm praying for a house.
Right.
And that's not as deep as protection.
Are you praying that you find the right house or the cash to buy the house?
Both, why not?
That's where I personally draw the line.
Does it matter?
Like, I think like a bit cheeky that. You know, like you might give us a clip.
Shy Ben's getting out.
You know what I mean? No, like that I do like in my head, like ask for like non-material things.
Yeah,
Then
that's good. That's a good thing.
That's me justifying it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't pray for a car. Do you know what I mean? I want a car.
I get that.
I don't think he dishes cash out. I don't think that's his job.
Okay.
In my opinion. Yeah. You know. But like, this is the truth, right? Everybody's got their own relationship with it, whether it be the real high end where you live, eat, and breathe it, and like you are hardcore Christian,
right?
Or you're in the middle, or you have 1% interest where you are never going to church, you are never praying, and it's funny this when people, even atheists, right, who say I don't believe in now. If you were hanging off the edge of a cliff, you'd start praying. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you were captured by those T-word people who do bad things to people, and he had a you-know-what to your head, you'd become very religious very quick.
Yeah.
You know, everybody, when they're in absolute dire straits, they'll ask. They maybe don't, and I'm just saying, that'll probably count for 99.99% of people who say they don't believe, in my opinion, you know? But what I was getting at is everybody has their own relationship, you know? And I guess the idea is that he can be the right person for every person, you know?
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. Like I say, I've juggled with this before, and I've said it to Ben. Do I believe there's a guy sat in drapes with a beard in the sky? I actually don't.
No.
I don't believe that, no. I don't believe it's a physical thing.
Yeah.
You know, maybe God to me is like the universe. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what I see it as.
Yeah.
I'm praying to something, but I don't see a physical thing.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's a man in the clouds, no. I don't believe that, no.
I don't believe there's a man in the clouds.
But then this is where we'll differ. I actually also don't believe that his son died and came back to life, because I also believe in science.
Right.
So my version of it is he was real. He was an incredibly influential guy.
Yeah.
He started something, which is now Christianity. He was 100% real. Did he do magic? No. That was an exaggerated story.
Okay.
He maybe had a fish and shared it around people, but it wasn't, it was, you know, scientifically possible. It wasn't what a fish that kept getting bigger and bigger. I also don't believe he died and came back, but I believe he was alive, and I believe he started something amazing, which is a blueprint for life. And some of them not rules, that's the wrong word, some of them principles from back then, 2,000 years ago, still stand today. Like if you look at the 10 Commandments, if you live by them, some of them aren't really possible in today's world because times change. But if you live by them, for the most part, you live a good life.
Yeah.
Bar illness, you know? That's what I think. But I don't think that makes me any less of a Christian. I just have my own version of events. You know, I pray like everybody else, and I believe there's something. I just don't believe he's a mush sat in the sky. What do you believe?
What do I believe?
Yeah, when you think of God, what's he look like? Or what does it look like?
I don't know what he looks like.
Do you see a physical thing?
No.
No?
No. No.
So
I'm sure at some point I've had that image in my head of God in the sky somewhere, but I don't believe that God is a physical person. No. I believe that Jesus was his son and sent to earth as a physical person. But I don't necessarily believe that God. My dad used to say, like, don't be dogmatic about things that aren't specific.
What does dogmatic mean?
I think it means like pedantic, like specific, basically. Like, don't be dogmatic about things that aren't specific. So if the Bible doesn't specify his form, why obsess about his form?
Oh, yeah.
If the Bible says no one will know when the world's going to end, it'll come like a thief in the night. Why obsess about when the world is going to end? Like, what's the point? Like, you're missing the big things in the Bible.
It's a bit like saying, like, we can all sit now and think a meteor's going to hit Earth. Why think about it?
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do? Like, you're just going to stress out till it comes. Just live your life, man.
Yeah.
You know?
So I think, like, why? I don't really think about it as form in that way. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So,
It's all right.
okay, it's refreshing. Not refreshing. That's the wrong word. Your parents seem like pretty cool people.
Yeah, they're great.
That
Yeah.
they've given you
They're really
that
good.
choice. So, okay, so it was pretty normal upbringing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's, bless you, it was Chesley Street. That's a shame. But
What's wrong with Chester, like?
Chester. There's nothing wrong with Chester. Chester's lovely.
Right.
Chesterley Street is iffy. Okay. I'm just saying. I've been before, and it was a bit iffy. I'm sure there's lovely people there. Just a bit stabby. That's all.
Yeah, that's parts, yeah.
It's stabby.
It's stabby.
You know what I mean? So anyway, all right. So look, you've done this school thing. You bright, pass your exams.
Yeah, I did well at school.
Yeah. So, all right, you've left school. Where'd you go there? What'd you do?
So I didn't do sixth form in school. I went to college and did music performance. So
Right.
I've played guitar since I was a kid as well. So
Okay.
I did music and sport all the way through growing up, and then I went and did. I was either going to do music or sports science, but music was what I really loved, so I did music instead of sixth form at Newcastle College, and did like a diploma rather than A levels.
Who got you into the guitar? Was it
Guitar?
Your family? Player?
Yeah, my dad used to play guitar.
That makes
He used to play in the band at church, and I remember him showing us a guitar, it was a blue Fender Strat.
Yeah.
I remember him showing us it on the stage at church, and I was like, that's cool.
Normally, the instrument thing with the kids is normally passed
Yeah.
down from parents.
Yeah.
Normally.
And then a friend's got an Argos one, and I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
So I asked for an Argos one, and then I just upgraded gradually.
Gradually.
Mm-hmm.
So you went and did music performance. So that's based. I mean, for the untrained ear, music performance sounds like you're getting trained to be on stage and play music.
That's basically what the course was, yeah.
Okay.
You got set up into bands and had various tasks, and you got write music, and you do gigs every Friday in front of the whole course. There was a venue in the college. It was a main course. It was
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wicked.
God, your college sounds good.
It was great.
I did mechanics, and I was given a.
They do
beat-
mechanics as well.
Yeah, mine was rough. There was this one beat up old Vauxhall Cavalier that looked like it'd been there for 20 years, and basically we just spent a year taking the brakes on and off.
Yeah, right.
That was pretty much it. And obviously smoking, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So sound.
Yeah.
You've pretty much been in the sound world then
Yeah.
since a kid. You've because now I would say you from what I know about you, and I've heard you talk about sound before. You're I don't want to use the word obsessed, but you're an expert in it. You don't just know what a good speaker is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know stuff that people who are really into sound know. You know about vibrations. You know about things bouncing off stuff. How do you know what I mean? How did it start
Yeah.
from playing guitar? How did you get to this point? How did you get there?
Well, there's people that know a lot more than me. I like clarify. I work
Really?
with people all the time that are miles ahead of me. So
Right. So
I'm
I'll
not
get their number.
an expert compared to some people. Well, at church, so a lot of stuff stems from church. Obviously, people do sound at church. I was interested in it. My parents had a couple from church around for dinner, and one of them had a recording studio called Des Minto, absolute legend. And my dad just asked, this is, again, my dad being supportive. It wasn't my idea. If I could go and intern at the studio. I was 13, 14. So I just used to go in the studio and just learn and pick their brains for Des, Paul and Gav, the three people that work there, and just ask them questions. And I knew nothing, and they just taught me. So, and Paul, incidentally, is now my business partner in the studio. But I was 14 when I met him, and he's, I don't know how, 12 years old? No, 8 years older than me.
Right.
So I had that relationship for a long time. And so that's where the sound / music production, songwriting started. And then through college, so I did that in secondary school, loved it. I'd go to secondary school, I play football, rugby, whatever, go to the studio. And then in college, I started recording my band and friends' bands. And that's where that started. And I was just super interested in it. I just loved it.
Right. So that's pretty much, because that's been your job since.
Yeah, pretty much. I had Logic on my computer, which is a program you can record and produce music. And I just used to my mum would I'd be asleep in my bedroom at the keyboard because I would have just been up just making music till 3 a.m.
That's obsession.
Yeah. So I just loved it.
Yeah.
I just loved it.
So you don't just know a lot about sound and the thing, you know how to produce music
Yeah,
too. Yeah. So you've been in bands.
Yeah. I played in church all the way through growing up. So most of the playing experience I've had has been in church. And then I played in bands in college a bit, but took more there, ended up doing more producing and songwriting with the bands in college. But yeah, I did play in bands.
So have you done, since your education, have you done any other jobs that weren't sound related, or has it been all sound related?
Yeah. So when I went, at uni, I was freelancing sound alongside the course in London, and then I worked for the church I was going to in London for 2 years,
right.
in the worship department, which is like the music department, and did that for the last 2 years that I was in London, and then we moved back up, and I went freelance doing sound again. So yeah, I worked full time for a church for 2 years.
Right, and you got paid from them.
Yeah.
Proper job.
Yeah, proper job. So some of it was like team stuff and coordination stuff, and there's some travel involved, but there was also like music production. And
was this up here or in London?
This is in London.
Was it?
Yes.
But
part
of the Hillsong thing?
Yeah, it's Hillsong in London. Yeah.
Is that, when did you get introduced to Hillsong? How old were you as a kid?
Yeah, as a kid. So either my brother or my sister started going first.
Right.
When I would have been 11.
Right.
And then they said, we should all go, the whole family, we should all go. My brother or sister said that.
So did you start off in like the traditional type, or, stereotypical?
Yeah, not traditional like Catholic or
no, but
Church
like,
of England, but it was like a small chapel.
Right, I get
you. Yeah. And then like a slightly more modern church.
Was it always singing in that church?
Yeah, always singing, always music.
Right.
Yeah, and I played in that church like for like a Christmas thing once when I was little. Yeah. And then Hillsong when I was like 12-ish, 11, 12.
How long has Hillsong been here for? It's Australian, right?
It's Australian, yeah. I think in London like 24, 5-ish years.
Is that long?
Something like that, right between 20 and 25 years in London, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not 100%.
25 years.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah.
The one in Newcastle hasn't been that long though, has it?
No, the one in Newcastle was a church before. It was a Hillsong church though.
Was it?
So, yeah, that might be like 12 years, something like that.
Is that building at Hillsong in Newcastle?
Yeah.
Was that building a theatre once? Because it looks like a theatre.
I'm not sure what the original purpose of it was. It's been loads of things. It was called Prudder Street Mission.
Right.
I think that was the name of the church before we bought it. I'm not sure, but it was like, it used to like feed homeless people as well.
Right.
But yeah, it does look like a theatre. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think it's always had some sort of church or community involvement.
That's an old building.
Yeah.
Isn't
It's a listed building, yeah.
Like, that'll have been there, 100 years, 150 years?
Maybe it's not that long. I'd say probably early 1900, probably.
Early 1900s. It'll have lived it. It's had a life.
Westgate Hall.
Yeah, Westgate Hall. Yeah, whenever I've been in that building, I always think this was something else once.
Yeah. Yeah,
never
it's
sure
for
what.
funny shape.
Yeah. It feels theatre-y,
yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like, I've never seen a purpose-built Hillsong church. Do they always look like that? Do they always have the big arches and the...
No.
No?
No, they're all sorts. Like, I mean, Dominion Theatre in London,
It's a theatre?
that's a theatre. That's like a West End theatre. But then there's a campus to meet in a cinema. There's we used to do a service in like a old church, like where they supposedly Amazing Grace was written in one of the rooms there or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, but probably wasn't Amazing Grace. It was some old hymn like that.
Right.
Like loads of history is what I'm saying. But then meet in classrooms, all sorts.
Huh. Right. Yeah, it does seem, just through my vague experience, or sort of mild experience with them, with Hillsong, they do seem to go in for the theatre style venues. I mean, I don't remember where it was. I do know where it was. It was another one in London, because they've got another one in London, right? Haven't they
They've
moved?
got a few, yeah.
Did they move from one to another, or did they just get a second one?
Things have moved around a bit. They've got a few campuses. They've got like 6 or 7 campuses in London, around London.
In the last few years, they bought another theatre, didn't
Hippodrome.
they?
Yeah,
Is that what it was? Because I remember seeing a video of it, and it was like battered, and it needed a lot of work doing. But it was it wasn't the old guy, it was the new Australian mush, it's been around for the last few years.
What, Phil?
Like the gaffer with the glasses.
Gary?
Is that who he's called? Yeah. The one at London, like the head guy?
Yeah.
Because it used to be the little guy, right?
That's Gary.
That's Gary. Well, not him, the one that came after, the younger man.
Tim.
Is that Tim?
Yeah.
Really strong voice. Like he's got like a proper, not a soft voice.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's talked too much, that guy. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
No, but I remember seeing a video of it in that, it was a battered old theatre, like battered, absolutely battered. There must be some money going through that church to be buying these theatres. There must be.
Yeah.
Like, they're doing all right. Like, you
There's
know,
very generous people as well. Like,
Totally.
that will give big amounts to church because that's what they feel like they should do.
to be honest, do you know, that's the one thing about Hillsong had a time in my life as well. Just funnily enough, I told you my first story about Christmas Eve 2015.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, something else happened.
Right.
A few years after, in 2018.
Right.
Which is what drew me to Hillsong
Right.
for the first time. It was Ben.
All right.
Yeah. Like, obviously, some stuff happened he knew about, and he
Okay.
said, "Come with me." So I did. And you know what? I loved it. And for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, I literally walked away from my place and I just went up there every week. I went to the one in Newcastle. But one thing I never liked, I never liked how my church always asked for the 10% thing. No, it wasn't 10%. They always asked for donations.
Yeah.
But it was really, really, really like step back. It was very gentle. It was just a little bucket, a little nudge.
Yeah.
That's all it ever was. But I do remember being in Hillsong and pretty much most weeks actually feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah,
that
I get that.
I was like, oh, like, this is a bit intense. Like, it's a bit much. And it always, but I suppose, you know, at the end of the day, like, that's probably, if you look at the donations, I bet you, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that Hillsong will be generating a lot more revenue than these churches are. And maybe that is the right approach to generate revenue, you know? But I just, it always
I
put
can
me
understand
off.
that.
Always put me off. I just thought it was a bit much.
Yeah,
as much as I
understand that.
understood why this
Yeah.
is the way you get the most out of things.
Yeah.
But I always found it a bit pushy.
I understand that.
Just as like an outsider to church, obviously, my nana was quite religious, and I used to say a couple of prayers with her. So that was my only relationship I've ever had with religion and Christianity. But I wouldn't know all these donations and money. What does that exactly go into? Does that just go into events and sort of stuff like that? Do you know what it goes to?
I don't do the books, but
everything.
But the running of the building.
Yeah.
There'll
So
be
you
people's
look at it-
wages. There'll be the resources for events.
Yeah.
Everything from staff members
Lots
to
of money to do
repairs
things.
to
Repairs, yeah.
the bills, the rents, just
Yeah.
everything. It's expensive.
Yeah.
You
It'd
know,
be hard to
equipment,
maintain
like
all
musical
of it,
instruments, like this. It's a big operation.
Yeah, and there's no obligation. Like,
of course.
like no one would ever want you to feel uncomfortable
No,
for not doing it.
I hear what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It wasn't a case of if you don't pay, you can't come.
Yeah.
Not at all. You know, there was
I can
times,
completely understand why it would feel uncomfortable. Yeah,
times I
get
give,
that.
sometimes I didn't give.
Yeah.
Nobody was any less nice. Everybody
Yeah.
was just as nice. Just they've obviously got a model, and it might have come from Australia. I don't know, but their model and I'm not criticizing it because it works. Of course, it works for them. So I'm definitely not criticizing it, and I'm even saying, you know, they shouldn't do it any different because it's working. Possibly the old traditional churches might want to take a page out of this book because this seems to be working more than your way.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to say I did feel a bit awkward sometimes. You know, I felt, and you should, you know, this is probably like, you know, a horrible thing to say. I felt obliged.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? After a while, I
I
felt
understand that. I've been in that situation in churches before where I've been to like an Easter thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like the guy's like putting the thing in my face. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
I mean, people used to say all the time, like the first thing people would say when they would talk about it would be like, please, if you're visiting or you don't feel like it, please don't feel obliged. People used to always say that. Maybe people don't say that so much anymore.
But that's kind of like
then-
going in a room full
Yeah,
of
I
starving
understand,
people
yeah.
and saying, listen, everybody in there is dying of starvation.
Yeah.
Don't feel obliged to give them anything. Do you know what I mean? Of course you're going to
understand
give them
what you're
something.
saying,
You know, like...
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, but look, again, much respect to them because same as the other one, like they were there at a time in my life and I got something from the Hillsong crew, I guess. I got something from them I couldn't have got from them. The Hillsong thing was like stepping it up a level.
Right.
It was like GTI church. Like everything was stronger. Like the prayer was stronger. The arms in the air was so like it was more spiritual. It was very intense. Like it was more powerful. My church, you can sit at the back behind your phone. Like, do you know, like you could.
But it shows that both have their place because you had that encounter you were talking about first. That's
Yeah.
where you had it in a room full of 8 people. So every church has their place, 100%.
I'll tell you what, right? One of the most, and big up to them, man. One of the most moving experiences I had was at the conference in London.
Oh, you went?
Yeah. So, wow, what an amazing 3 days. I loved it. What an amazing 3 days that was. I went with somebody who wasn't religious, right, at all, but came with me. And their report back is wasn't keen on the hands in the air, right? It was a bit American for me. Fair. But that person said, I listened, because we went to the only thing we didn't go to was like the dancing in the midday. Right. But we went to all the proper talks with the proper people.
Right.
So the old fella who used to run it, the tall guy, he talked, Gary talked, loads of pastors talked. And like they weren't just giving like 10, 15 minutes, they were giving hours, like hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes. Great, big, long things. And the person I was with said like, yeah, that's like some of the most profound stuff I've ever heard. That's so good. Yeah, I mean, it didn't convert them, but it definitely hit home. But I remember, mate, the day I got there, I was late. I'm always late. And I'd got to like in one of these songs in that church, Wholehearted, right? It was that one, the classic. And I'd come to like it, going to the Newcastle one, love that song. Funnily enough, it was the first song I heard when I went in Newcastle, the Newcastle church first time. It was the first song I heard, this Wholehearted. The first thing I heard when I came through the door, it was playing Wholehearted, right?
Right.
When I went to conference, turned up late, obviously, and, you know, it was the O2 Arena like it is, went up, and as I walked up the stairs, you know, you had your pass and your seat number. So you were walking around the venue, like H66 or whatever it was. Anyway, walked around, found our bit. From the outside, you don't know where you are. You're just walking around this thing. Found it, got my door, went up these stairs, and as we walked up, I could hear my song being played. And I was like, nah, that's weird. And I remember walking to the top of the stairs, and our seat, just by chance, was dead center. You know, like right at the back, but dead center. So I was just looking straight at it. And I walked in and I seen this dark room and all these, I don't know if the lighters or phone lights, I don't know what they were, but it was just lit up. And that song was playing. And then I had another one of them like, because you're up at height too, I think it trips you out. You know, you get like vertigo too. It's really steep in the O2 if you've ever been. Yeah, and I remember stood at the top of the stairs like, ooh, this is a bit of a moment. Yeah. Yeah, and stood there and listened to the rest of that song. Yeah, it was special. If anybody ever gets a chance, like, even if you're not like banging to Jesus and that, go to conference in London because you'll get some out of it. It's a great few days, right?
Yeah.
I assume you've been a lot.
Yeah, but used to go like every year, yeah.
It's stopped happening now, right?
Yeah, it's come. They're doing it again in October though at the XL.
Where's the XL?
It's in London.
Is it?
It's like a multi-use like kind of space.
Same setup, same crack, basically.
I don't know. I think it'll be very similar. I don't know.
Are you gonna go?
I don't know. We've got the kids and that, so we'll see.
Yeah, that's been a new chapter in your life, hasn't it? So let's talk about that.
Okay.
You got a couple of little, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's
you got
true,
a couple of little ones.
Yeah.
How old are they?
Nearly 2.5 and 4 months.
Do we got names?
Yeah, Bridget and Poppy.
Bridget
2
and
girls.
Poppy, 2 little girls, right? So I'm assuming life changed.
Yeah.
Yeah? For the better, obviously.
Yeah.
No more sleep, though?
No.
Is that gone now?
Yeah. I mean, being a sound engineer, you work like silly hours anyway. So it's not like necessarily the kids that like, if I didn't work this job and I just had the kids, I'd feel much better. The combination of those two things, yeah, it's a lot of things. And I used to just think because parents love to complain about how tired they are, and you hear it that many times, you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. But then it is actually real. It's a stereotype, and it is real.
It is real.
Yeah, for sure.
I've recently had a friend like you who said his first son. Shout out Adam. You won't mind me saying. And obviously I was very close to Adam prior to the kid Theo. I'm his godfather anyway.
Congrats.
I remember Adam before. Adam was a lovely lad, but always loved his sleep.
Yeah.
Liked his own space. And he was very set in his ways. And I remember, like, when he said he was having a kid, it was like 2 years ago, I remember thinking, like, that's not going to work. Like, anyway, it was really interesting to watch this transition.
Yeah, that it was.
And, I mean, he said that, sleep's gone. But it's amazing how this person who I thought would never be right for kids. I thought if anyone's not going to have a kid, it'll be Adam. That's what I always thought.
Yeah, right.
But he had a son. And it's amazing now that I speak to him every day. And it's amazing how this little fella has changed Adam.
Right.
Like, don't get me wrong, he still says, he like laughs and jokes. You know, obviously the kid's having tantrums.
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't got no sleep. He's getting up in the middle of the night, like all this stuff. But it's amazing to see this transition from who Adam was to who he is now, and he's definitely grown as a person. He's definitely he's there's just loads more to. I've seen a side of him that I respect it. I absolutely respect it. But What would you say is the biggest? Okay, let me rephrase that. Has it changed you as a person, the way you look at life? Because I hear the saying that when you have kids, everything changes. Like how you the love you have for that child, the moment you first meet it, let's say, it's something you never felt before. Is that real?
It's funny because sometimes I don't forget that I've got kids, but I'm 28, like I'm still young, so like you're being stupid with your mates, you're laughing and you're being whatever, and then you're like, oh, I've got 2 kids. Yeah. So it's funny. So I'm still like me.
Yeah. Like you haven't become like a dad. Do you know what I mean? Like you are a dad, but like not one of them old dads.
Yeah. I was fairly sensible anyway, so it's not like I wasn't like some crazy guy, and then now I have to clean up my act.
No.
Yeah, it's funny the whole like when you first meet them thing, because the whole thing is. It's such a blur, like it's so crazy. And like our first one was like we were going in for the operation, but it kind of happened as a surprise as well. Like she came early, so it happened so fast and you're so knackered at that. It was like 4 a.m. or something. So I was just like, I couldn't process it all at first, like because you're just holding this tiny thing,
like a dream.
Yeah, it's just mad. And then like I fell asleep, even though Holly's the one that went through it. After it, she's like there in the bed next to the new child, and I'm like asleep. Absolutely awful.
She's at all the graft, and it's supposed to be your turn now, and you've gone. Jesus, Joe.
I know, yeah. So it's funny, and it's also funny when they start to develop their own personality, and your love for them like grows, like as you like get to know them and stuff as they grow up. And the second time around, we kind of knew what to expect a bit. So. Yeah, it's mad.
It's the second time round easier.
Looking after a baby is easier. Yeah, for sure. But like now it's the juggle is having a toddler and a baby at the same time. Plus like a job and a business and like all those things. So it's like the juggle of life is now the struggle, not the how do I look after a child.
Yeah. Have you noticed like, is there any, because I think it would freak me out, like if I saw this in my child, is there any physical or personality traits of either you or Holly in the girls that you've seen?
Interesting. I think it's probably too early to say that.
Is it?
Yeah, she's only like 2.5, so but like,
who's she look like?
She looks like me.
Does she?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like so. Like Holly looks very different from me. Holly's like grandma is from Democratic Republic of Congo, and then Holly's, and they kind of grew up like partly in Cyprus and all these things. So. Holly is like, if when we were living in London, people in London would ask her, they would say like, oh, what's like your mixed heritage? What is that? People up here don't really, probably as aware, so they don't really say that. But yeah, Holly's got like much darker hair, big dark eyes, so she looks very different from me. But our 2 girls are like, well, the baby is a baby, so. But the toddler Bridget is like, she's like blonde and blue eyes, and so she looks now like Holly.
I've seen Holly at church before, and I didn't know she was mixed race in any way.
Yeah. So people in London would say it all the time. Would like ask about it, but yeah, up here people.
Congo in Africa.
Yeah, her grandparents. Yeah. So, wow. but she, I don't know loads about the history, so I don't want to get it wrong. But she met her. So her grandma met her granddad, who was an Englishman, white Englishman. They met in the army in Cyprus, I believe.
Oh, there's an army base there.
Yeah.
So,
and then,
that's how that began.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, just briefly while we're on the kids, I know we were saying before the pod that you talk about your own kids and everybody says, oh my God, my kid's so smart. But like, just in case Bridget turns out to be some sort of next Albert Einstein, I think we need to touch slightly on.
Right.
She is smart, right?
Yeah,
For her
well,
age, two and a half. You were saying you're having full blown conversations with her.
Like we were saying before, like, yeah, everyone thinks their kid is the smartest kid in the world, and they'll all say, "Oh, she's so clever, she does this or that." And I've got no one else to compare it to. I've never had a kid before, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what is normal for kids speech-wise, but yeah, she's very clever. She knows exactly what she wants. She can tell you exactly what she wants. You know, a full conversation with her. You never like misunderstand her.
At 2.5.
At 2.5, if you tell her something, she'll remember it. Like if you tell her what something is, she'll not forget it.
Bro,
She's very clever.
I met like 9 and 10-year-olds who can't speak. You know?
Yeah, that's what seems mental to me. 2.5.
Yeah, that's young. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I think.
And she'll figure stuff out as well. She's like if you say like, if she wants to watch something and you say, well, we're going to have tea first and then we're going to do it. And you say, I'll finish my tea. So she understands that like, okay, it's after tea. Well, tea's finished then.
Right.
So she's clever.
She could end up being like one of them kids that I'm after,
Yeah.
you know, that play the violin and stuff. You know, one of them.
But she can like count like past 10 and like, she'll like read numbers. And like I say, I don't know what is normal for a 2-year-old, but I feel like she's very smart.
Yeah, we talked about Demi Southpaw.
Yeah.
The kid, I'd love a Japanese violinist
Right,
kid.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what
Right.
I'd love. I just think it'd be awesome.
It would be
You know what
good.
I mean?
I
Turn
mean,
up at school.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, reception year.
Yeah.
All the kids are there playing with the toys, crying
Yeah.
because they don't want to go to school.
Yeah.
They've got food down the top.
Yeah.
Just
Your kid is
3 or
just
4 year olds, and mine walks in with a violin.
making their own lunch.
Immaculate, speaks 3 languages. You know, plays the violin and all the other
You
kids.
better start learning the violin then, though, because you're going to have to teach her.
Well, can't you get them like that?
Just with a violin.
Like you can,
burn the genes.
I'll buy the violin.
Maybe, I mean, maybe there's a market, yeah.
You know, I bet you could
Violinist.
adopt one. I bet you could adopt a little girl.
I mean, yeah.
You could. You could. I bet you could get them.
Yeah.
But no, shout out to future Bridget.
Yeah,
man.
Fingers crossed. Next Albert Einstein, who knows?
Yeah, you never know. Do you feel like I've always thought I don't have kids, but I've always I want to say thought, but I think it's probably known that I'm going to end up one of them parents that wants their kid to be the best. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
And I'm worried about that.
I don't think you will. I think you'll just love them a bit and you won't really care.
No,
I understand what you're saying because I'm very conscious that we both want them to like have the best in life and yeah, but they're still so young. It's like
yeah. I hope I don't become because I'm quite an intense person when I want to be, and I always
yeah,
hope
I'm the same.
I hope I don't like end up making him running sprints in the garden at 3, you know, like doing push-ups,
Yeah.
learning you will
David
play
Beckham's
football.
dad and that.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I get that. Like, and yeah, I often think my thing in the back of my head is, oh, I don't want to mess them up, because like you listen to all these podcasts where people that have done amazing things, and so often their parents just mess them up, and I never want to. I'm always conscious of my behaviour and how I speak, and it doesn't mean I always get it right. I definitely don't. Holly's way more patient than I am, but like, yeah, in that sense, I'm very conscious of. I don't want to like.
You know that example I just give you, like that it can work. It can go one of two
Yeah,
ways.
yeah.
Sometimes you nurture them again, make them do sprints where the other kids are playing with Thomas the Tank. You've got them shooting penalties in the garden. Sometimes that can work out where they end up being Lionel Messi.
Yeah.
You know, like the best footballer ever. It can also go the other way where they completely rebel and you end up having no relationship.
Yeah, and
Just-
they feel like they always need to please you and they never could please you.
Yeah.
That was
Dangerous.
David Beckham's crack, wasn't it? His dad was basically like, do it again, do it again, do it
Really?
again. Yeah, he's got that. I mean, I know he filmed it, but it's a documentary about his life.
I didn't know that.
And that was his crack. His dad was like super.
Yeah, his dad was like a proper nightmare with him. Like he
Really?
could never please him. Even on like if he won a game, there was always.
But he's
something-
grateful for it.
Oh yeah,
Now he's been David Beckham.
he is now. Yeah,
He's grateful for it. But yeah, like you say, it could go different ways. I think, I don't know, obviously we'll see what happens. I want to let my kid know that if they want something, they have to work for it. But I don't like if they're serious about something, I want them to know, okay, you can do it, but you're gonna have to work hard at it.
Right.
So I want them to know that if you want to achieve something, you need to work hard. But yeah, I would never want them to feel like if they didn't work hard for it, I wouldn't love them or anything like that. Yeah, but she's only 2.5, so the things I'm scared about,
Miles off.
I'm thinking about social media and growing up and having 2 girls and like,
What's
I'm scared of that.
your tactic going to be for that? You
I
just
don't know. I can't. I'm not clever enough for that. I'll have to discuss with Holly.
right.
I don't know. I don't know what the tactic is. Flipping egg.
It's quite interesting because
God, I'm so scared right now. I'm just gonna take a couple of years of just enjoying this, and then maybe it's game plan time. How do I?
Please don't grow up.
Yeah, no, flipping heck, man.
But what we were saying earlier, Joe, as well about kids are so reactive to your reaction.
Yeah.
And that was so interesting.
So real.
I don't know whether anyone's seen that video online where this guy basically walks with his child towards a door.
Yeah.
The child's head doesn't hit the door or anything, but he just hits the door and it makes a loud sound. And then the baby's confused and he just goes, oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? And then the baby starts crying and starts getting upset because it's all
Even though nothing happened. Yeah.
It's all based on your reaction. So I was saying to Joe, I was like, so what do you do? Like a baby falls over? And then you were just saying, you just go,
You've just got to make it funny. Like, even if it's a bad fall, like a big fall, you've got to be, what are you doing? Don't be silly. Even if they got like blood coming out. It's fine. And never tell them that. Never tell them their lips bleeding.
No.
Game over.
Huh.
Mental,
Yeah, you got to be the thermostat. You got to set the temperature.
There's just
like
run off your emotions, don't there?
Yeah, mate, 100%. Yeah.
I guess, I never thought about that before, but pretty much everything's like learned, isn't it?
Yeah. Fear is
learned.
learned. Kids don't have any fear. They'll run out into the road. They don't care. They'll do whatever.
You know what I heard about kids the other day? Off it. I don't know if it's true. Right? It could be ram. I listen to a lot of city podcasts.
Yeah.
But this one city podcast I listened to said that right now as adults, if you imagine anything in the world in your mouth,
Right.
you know what
Right.
that feels like.
Okay.
And it's something to do with when you were a kid, you put everything in your mouth. So if I said to you now,
interesting.
right, if you put you've never had a snake in your mouth.
That's a fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Imagine a snake in your mouth.
Okay.
You can imagine what it feel like with your tongue.
Yeah.
So try and imagine anything in the world that you've not had in
Right.
your mouth. You should be able to imagine what it would
Yeah.
feel like on your tongue.
Yeah.
Now, again, this could be nonsense, but I heard that, and actually, come to think of it, the one I heard it on they're not actually idiots. It was quite a smart person. It was, I heard it on Theo Von.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I heard it on Theo Von.
He's
a
a bit
guest.
of an idiot.
You never know, do you?
It wasn't him that said it. It was the guest.
Okay.
And the guest didn't seem like an idiot because the guest had kids.
Yeah, right.
And she came out with that statistic or fact, whatever it was, or statement, claim.
Yeah, right.
Possibly. But there you go. Check
Maybe.
that out.
Yeah,
maybe.
Could be true.
Could be
How many
true.
kids do that?
Maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah, but early days. Joe's dad times 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got it all to play, mate. You know, it's all to come.
Yeah. Early days.
Yeah, it's all part of the rich tapestry, isn't it? I suppose. Good times, bad times, everything in between.
Yeah, 100%.
So what you doing now for? You got a business, right?
Yeah, I've got a recording studio in Newcastle. called Salt.
So what does Salt? There's a restaurant burger shop in Darlow called Salt.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, real good. Where'd you come up with that name?
Holly, it was Holly's idea for it, but it comes from like there's a verse in the Bible that talks about salt and light. So
Salt, does it?
Yeah, it talks about being salt and light in the world and bringing out. It's a particular translation, but it talks about bringing out the God flavors in the world. And for me, we're not necessarily emphasizing that religious side of it, but it's there. And it's like whoever comes in the studio, I want to bring out that best, just like Salt does on food, bring out the absolute best in that. And whatever character is in their food, like the music, whatever their songwriting, whatever, bring out the best in that. That's what the name is.
Right.
And yeah, so that's like, we're in like month 2 of it now. And so it's Paul, who I was saying that I first went to the studio with back in the day when I was like a kid.
Yeah.
And we do that together, yeah.
So the studio itself, do you like do like, let's say a band, for example,
Yeah.
do they come to your studio and you do the work for them, or do you just rent them the studio?
I mean, if they had their own engineer and they wanted to produce themselves, possibly we'd rent it to them. But it's us doing it with them.
Right.
And depending on the project, we might be co-writing it with them. We might just be maybe they've got it all together and it's just recording them and mixing it. So it just depends on the project. Other times it's a solo artist and they've got nothing. They've just got an idea.
Right. Have you had clientele in yet?
Yeah. So April's like fully booked except for 3 days. May's completely booked.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are these local bands for the most part?
Yeah, mostly local, yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them Paul has worked with for years, other people are new. Yeah.
So are you still doing the day job, or is that your full time?
Yeah, I'm still doing live sound.
Right. And that's at the City Hall.
City Hall, yeah, and do other freelance stuff as well.
You've always mentioned, like, you've always said you do sound at City Hall, but I never know what that entails.
Yeah, it depends on the gig.
So it's all around their gigs.
Yeah.
So in City Hall, let's say in a given month,
Mm-hmm.
what sort of gigs could pass through City Hall?
I mean, it's a whole range of stuff. It can be tiny tribute shows and massive artists.
Right.
So like last month was like Paloma Faith, like Lil TJ, like Gary Newman's this week, which like
Do you get to meet any of them?
yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get what I mean. And then we do a lot of comedy stuff as well. So James Acaster was there the other week. And then other times it's like little tribute bands or big tribute bands. So it's just like, it depends on the month. It's a bit of everything really.
How big is the venue? I've never been.
So like seated it's like 2,000-ish and standing it's like 2,500 depending on the configuration.
So it's a good, it is a good comedy
Yeah.
venue.
Yeah.
Like it's a good size venue. You must get a lot of comedy through, right? Because
Yeah, we get a lot of comedy.
Comedy's
which is
booming.
nice. Yeah.
Nice to watch.
Yeah,
isn't it?
James Acaster was so good, man. He's so funny.
Is the sound for a comedy set easier to do than like a musical set? I imagine it is.
Yeah, typically, yeah.
You just turn it to one
Yeah,
set.
I mean,
and
but
leave
sometimes if you got one mic and because the comedy is usually just one mic, if someone's mic technique is particularly bad, then making one mic sound good is sometimes hard. But most people, it's a well-established venue with a good capacity, so most people that are doing comedy there know how to use a mic and know how to speak properly. So
that'd make a brilliant Hillsong venue, wouldn't it? You know,
we've done Christmas stuff there before.
have you?
So yeah.
Looks tailor made.
Yeah.
I have no idea where this is. I feel like
That's not it.
I've missed it. Like where on earth is City Hall?
You know, the
No
City
idea.
Baths. City Baths is, if you go to Northumberland Street and you at the top end of it, M&S on your left, then you've got like Costa. If you turn right there
Right.
and just keep going, it's just there.
That must be class, that though, because all these events you're doing, like I'd imagine the bulk of the work is done before,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, a lot of the big productions, they've done pre-production and you can work with some really good people
and then
learn a lot
you,
from people.
You just get to enjoy Paloma Faith. Just
Yeah.
Doing
So
a
sometimes
thing.
if it's a gig like that, you're just looking after the touring party
Yeah.
and the touring engineer, and you're not mixing the band, you're looking after the system. So you're you're not mixing the PA, but you're controlling how the PA sounds itself. Not
Have
not
you
what's
ever
going
had
in the
like anything majorly go wrong with a big artist?
PA.
Yeah, like any absolute disasters where everything just went off.
I mean, you have show stops where sometimes because of an incident, like say like a serious medical issue, a show has to be stopped or paused. And we always do a brief before the show to talk about like the different events that a show stop might happen. So if you're stage managing, you have the power to call a show stop. Other people in the party do, the production. And like you do a whole briefing beforehand to talk about, like if it's a terrorist incident, for example, you might call a show stop. Well, you would, obviously.
Have you ever experienced that?
You might.
Yeah.
We'll
Might be
see how
best.
bad it is.
Have you ever experienced the show stop?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it happens like fairly regularly sometimes.
it?
Yeah, like if sometimes people just do it themselves. Like since things like what's the rapper called? Where there was like 9 people crushed at his festival.
Oh, Travis Scott.
Travis Scott. So since that, artists are way more aware of
Well, I guess
of
they
that
have
kind of
to
thing.
be,
So
yeah.
artists will sometimes now are super conscious of like just stopping it.
Right.
When they see something, particularly like the younger artists, like they're very, very conscious. And some fans even come with some signal where like if someone like some I've seen a show where different people in the crowd will just do that, and that's clearly a thing amongst their fans. That hang on, we need to look after everyone. Someone in the crowd needs help. Let's pause the show. We can restart it. So yeah, it's not like uncommon. You don't want it to happen. I can't remember how I started talking about that.
No,
Things going wrong.
yeah.
Yeah. No, it doesn't really happen that often at City Hall, to be honest. The productions are normally pretty slick.
Thanks to you.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Know what we're doing, you know. No, I often think like, has it ever happened with like a big artist on stage, and like, would they kick off? You know, like be diva-ish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've not had anything like that.
No.
Touch wood.
Yeah.
Touch wood. I wonder if it's ever happened in like, you know, like a monumental, like a Beyonce concert. You know what I mean?
Oh, it will have, mate.
I mean, it doesn't take a lot. It would take like just a power cut or,
Oh yeah.
well, not a power cut because they're on generators, but if the generator went down or something and the backup generator went down,
Yeah.
who knows?
Huh. So the Salt, the business.
Yeah.
I like to ask people like, what's the like dream big? Allow yourself to dream big. Like
absolutely.
play the game. Like, where would you like it to go? Like, if you could write the script, where would it go? Where would like, wow, where's that for you?
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I would love it to not just be like a small local studio. I would love it to be like world class studio that people would fly from all over the world to use. But I'm open to all possibilities. So maybe it's not that the studio itself becomes that. Maybe it's that mine and Paul's career, whatever, does that. I don't know. But yeah, I would love it to be like a world class.
What's because I'm not in the game that you're in. Like, what would be a world class studio in the UK? Like, what's one?
What
like Red Bull
currently?
Studios, is that one?
I mean, it depends what you're looking for. I think Red Bull do more like
rap music.
Yeah, I think so. It depends. Like, there's loads. Like, obviously, Abbey Road is the most famous studio in the world.
Of course.
Like, the UK's got so many great ones. Air Studios, which was set up by, I'm pretty sure, George Martin, who produced the Beatles.
Right. Okay.
I think. Old Church Studios in London.
Salt.
There's so many Rack Studios. There's loads.
What's the, like, obviously from where you are now, 2 months in, to be in, one of England's, favourite studios, like with a mint like name where people want to go, is the path to it? Is it sort of like the influencer type thing? Is it that path?
Maybe.
Where you get slowly but surely. Obviously, social media could do it for you. Put pictures on.
Maybe.
Is that how it goes?
Yeah, I mean, surely that has to be part of it.
I wonder
but we're not like, we're very, very grateful for what we've got now, and focused on the artists that we have now and making great music now more than anything else. So like, we just want to make really great music that does really good things. So maybe because the other thing that we want to do is, studios are often not like a nice place to be. Like, they've thought a lot about the acoustics and how it should sound and all of these things, but they're like just dingy and there's no natural light and all these things. So for us, we want it to be a space where like people feel super comfortable to be in and people actually want to come back because there's actually natural light and it's just like a super nice chilled vibe and that they feel like they can be who they need to be and do what they need to do. So we want it to kind of feel a bit anti-studio.
I've never seen a studio with light.
Exactly. That's ridiculous.
Because
yeah.
Is there not a reason for why they're always dark energy?
There's I mean, of course, like soundproofing. Like, to keep a space soundproof, you have to create air gaps essentially, and reflective surfaces like glass aren't necessarily what you want, depending on the space. So yeah, there is a reason why, and it's to create optimal acoustics. But our theory is that what makes great records is great songs,
of course,
not great acoustics. And in order to write great songs, you need to feel inspired. And 100%, you can write any song. Like, you can write a great song in any of these studios, and people have and do, obviously. But we want to start with that, creating a space people feel inspired in. And then we'll do the other stuff.
Yeah, I think what you've just said is, again, from an outsider looking in, that's hit the nail on the head. Maybe it's not the time to be thinking about, how do we get Beyonce in our studio? Start off with the fundamentals, make great music with great people.
I'd rather spend £4,000 on like the space and making it feel and look good rather than on a microphone, because the person singing into it does not care how much that microphone. Or doesn't know. And is that really making that much of a difference?
Yeah,
rather than spending £4,000 on the space and making someone feel like they can do whatever they need to do, and
all the gear and no idea.
Exactly. Yeah. So the feel of it, the space is very important to us.
Who designed it?
Designed the studio, me and Paul.
So did you have a vision before you?
Yeah. So it was my space. It's online if you want. No pressure to get it. Justadsalt.org.uk.
Salt.org.uk.
Just add salt.
Just add salt. I like it.
So, we designed it together. And so I was in the space before. It was my personal space.
What was it your space for?
That's not the one.
Oh, no?
.org.uk, sorry. We need to get that domain. Just add salt.org.uk. Yeah, and then we kind of developed it from there, and it's a work in progress still, and there's more investments going to go in. So if you go to a gallery...
It's a cool website, though.
It's cool. It's not a Dash website, though.
Who's that like?
That doesn't matter. You wouldn't.
If you go to a gallery, then there.
It's nice.
So yeah.
Oh, this looks lovely.
We're getting there. It's weird seeing on a big telly. All the wrong photos are massive. And it looks a bit different to that now even, but we're getting there. And we're like pretty proud of what we've done so far. You can't zoom it in annoyingly.
No zoom ins?
No, I know. This is why I need Dash, man.
Get involved, Joe.
And
complimentary website for you, mate. You know.
Look at that res.
I thought I was going to come away from that just quickly.
This is probably just, I'll stop it there because this might be a good time to hear from our sponsor.
Okay,
so we'll be right back. Do you have a business? Thinking about starting one? Dash, the bespoke web design and branding experts. When you have a business that needs a professional online presence, when your current website is starting to look a little outdated and tired, when you have an idea and want to see it brought to life online, that's where Dash can help. Dash create bespoke websites built around your business and its requirements, from exceptional e-commerce stores to sell your products online, to beautiful brochures showcasing who you are and what you do. The team at Dash will become an extension of your business. You'll be assigned a dedicated team who will help guide and advise from the initial design brief all the way to the website launch. Not only that, Dash provide full aftercare to carry out any changes, alterations or updates quickly and efficiently. It's like having your very own personal web development team 365 days a year. Dash understands that in today's world, the right online image, exposure and representation is the key to success. Book in a free, no obligation consultation with one of their experts today to see how Dash can make your online vision an online reality. Just visit www.dashmedia.co.uk or search Dash Media on Google to find out more. Dash, the bespoke website and branding experts. So what were we saying about the studio? Oh no, the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a horrendous website. But it's a gorgeous studio though, mate. It's gorgeous. So this was your space before, right?
Yeah.
What did you do in it?
The same stuff, but just with my own personal clients and projects.
Right.
And then me and Paul joined forces and opened it as a business together. So
what would
early days.
If this is none of my business, what would a band like? What's the going rate for a studio? I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on where you are and what the studio is. So the studio in London might cost more than the studio up here. So
I imagine it would.
Between like £200 and £300, depending on the studio. More towards the top end of that. Yeah, up here. Yeah, for sure.
Per day.
Yeah. Depending on the studio you go to. Yeah. So there's, yeah. But then some studios are thousands of pounds a day.
Oh, of course. I mean, imagine the price of Abbey Road for a day.
Yeah, it's the most expensive studio in the UK, I think.
Is it really?
I believe so.
Who rents that? Do people still rent it?
I mean, it doesn't... I could be wrong, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong. I don't think the studio actually makes money from, like, recording. I think because it's so expensive to run, I don't think that's... I think they're actually running at a loss in that, I think. But they do a lot of tours and stuff. And they make a lot of money from that kind of thing and from endorsements and business deals. So, but I could be completely wrong on that.
Yeah, it's saying it's estimated £2,000 per day with 2 engineers. So you'd imagine...
studio?
Abbey Road.
But which one within it? Does it say?
Oh, it doesn't say.
It's like A, B, C, D kind of thing.
Is there?
Or 1, 2, 3.
I once watched... I mean, we won't look at it because we get banned, but one of my favourite singers is Paolo Nutini.
Yeah.
And... my favourite performance of him, I must go back to this at least once a week, is Paolo Nutini in Abbey Road. And he's doing his acoustic love album on it.
Okay.
I mean, for Paolo Nutini fans, you know what I'm saying? He just let me down easy and things like this. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, it just...
Yeah.
It just has a certain feel to it, doesn't it? Like, as the cameras look, it's not just obviously on him, it's like looking back around the studio a little bit, and obviously they're getting Abbey Road in,
There's so much history there.
Yeah.
Like, it was basically, recording as we know it now, was basically invented there, essentially.
Basically.
Through like what the Beatles did there.
You know what always puzzled me though? It looks like a school hall.
Yeah, it does.
Like,
it looks a bit rubbish.
How does it work? Like, I always think, whenever I see that space, I'm like, sound can't work in there. It's got to echo, right?
But that's not a bad thing. Depends on the kind of sound that you want.
Yeah.
Because, so a big room, so at our studio, we've got a room that sounds super dry, but we put a couple of mics out in the hall and it sounds huge. It's like a 5-story building, leave the door open, and then you got to have the best of both worlds. Sometimes you want a super lively drum sound or whatever. It just depends. And you'll be able to get both there, and you can move baffles around and stuff to compensate for that.
So I didn't know there was lots of different rooms in Abbey Road.
Yeah. So I think Studio 2 is the one the Beatles mainly used. I could be wrong. But yeah, I've got friends that have done stuff there, and I've been to a recording there.
Like, look at the size of that. Is that Abbey Road?
Yeah.
How can you make sound in that room?
What, because it's big?
Yeah.
But if you're recording an orchestra, it needs to be big, because you need to fit them in.
Oh, yeah.
And you might traditionally hear an orchestra in a church or
Yeah.
a music hall or something like that, which is a reverberant room. So actually, to record an orchestra, it would be weird if it sounded really dry and dead.
Come to think of it, in any theatre, it's a big room. So isn't it pretty much every artist
Yeah.
that sings in any large venue that's
Yeah.
enclosed,
Yeah.
isn't that kind of against sound principles or like good sound?
I mean, it definitely doesn't help sometimes, depending on the... So like a stadium, classically, nearly always sounds terrible. Even though they're the biggest artists in the world with the best stuff, it's designed for football or whatever. It's not designed for sound. So
Yeah, it's not keeping it in, is it? No. Yeah, it's just literally just dawned on me there.
And it's why festivals, particularly, except for weather, can sound like near perfect, the PA, because there's no surfaces to bounce off.
I guess that's why when artists record albums, they go in studios, not football stadiums.
Yeah,
You know?
that's true.
That's how, that's how it is, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, I always wonder that. Why, I always thought there was some motive behind it for why every studio I've ever seen online is enclosed with no natural light.
Yeah, which depends on the space.
But yeah, I guess if you've got the right, I don't know what the words are, sponges and stuff on the walls and stuff, you can make it work with windows. I guess it was just a trend, wasn't it? I guess it's just how it is. But you're right. Some studios you think, does it need to be that dark and dingy? Why are you painting it black?
Yeah, and you want it to be busy, which means you want people to come back, and then they want to feel like they want to be there, not that they want to get out for a break because they've been there for 8 hours. I don't want someone to feel like that.
You don't know
I want them to feel the opposite. I want when they walk in to feel like they're chilled and relaxed.
Yeah.
Not that they need to go and chill and relax.
Yeah, that's I bet it's difficult to achieve because, like, when they're recording, it is work, isn't it?
Yeah.
They are working. Huh. Well, it looks lovely, Joe. It really does.
Thank
It
you,
looks
mate.
lovely. It's lovely to hear that it's busy. You're fully booked, you say?
Yeah, for me, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess as you just said, to think about the future is maybe improper. Just concentrate on the now.
We definitely are still thinking and dreaming, though. There's definitely things to come.
It's nice to dream, right?
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah, you got to.
You got to have something to chase.
Yeah, that's
right?
me 100%. Whenever I get something in my head, I'm like super like obsessed about it.
Yeah. It's a good trait, right? Obsession.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, how long have we been rolling, Southpaw?
1, 2, 6.
Right. Well, that's going to do. So, Joe, before we go, how can people? We do a little plug. So we normally roll. How do people get in touch to use the studio?
Yeah, so we've got the website, just addsalt.org.uk, and there's a contact form there. Or just DM on social media, Salt Recording.
What's the name on socials?
Salt Recording.
Salt Recording, and it's on Insta and all the
And
others.
Facebook, yeah.
Same thing on everything.
Yeah.
Huh. Brilliant. Joe, I know you get to hear this every week, but thank you for talking to people like us. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. Wish you all the best of luck with Salt. No, just add Salt. And wish you all the best with being a dad.
Than't you very much, mate. Thank
Brilliant,
you for
mate.
having me on.
Yeah. Well, listen, everybody, thank you for listening. It's been another fun-filled episode of People Like Us. Ben, you're a disgrace. And
We should have called him.
Oh, yeah.
shall we give him a ring?
Should we give him a quick ring?
Give him a bit ring. Just listen. We'll give him a quick
Just
ring.
see what Ben
Just before
said.
we go, yeah? Give him a quick ring. I think he'll
I'd
answer.
just say Joe smashed it without you, but here you go, mate.
I think
It
he'll
was
know.
better.
Yeah, it was miles better, mate.
He probably knows.
You reckon?
He knows. Well, listen,
He's in his crypto cave.
He's in his crypto
it's
cave.
Crypto Cave.
Should we listen to the reason as to why?
Oh, well, let's play this before we go. So,
So this is what Ben sent me earlier on today to back out the pod. Sorry, Ben, but here you go, mate.
yeah, we'll give it a listen.
I'm a divvy, man. I didn't even check my WhatsApp.
Oh, that's me.
Sorry. It could have been really bad, that, couldn't it?
Just send me a voice note. Like, I feel rough as out. You can probably hear in my voice. I wanted to do it, but I just don't think I can because I've got this chest thing, so I'm like coughing every couple of seconds.
Oh, here he is. Here he is.
How you feeling, mate?
Mr. Dan Brown.
What's wrong with you?
Mate, just flipping Morocco killed us.
We missed you on the podcast tonight.
I know. Obviously, I wanted to be there. It was with Joe, innit? It would have been a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one. It's an interesting little story. Ben, I'm just a bit confused, mate. Like, like, forgive me, but I've just never heard of somebody being made poorly by air.
What do you mean?
Well, I've had it reported to me from Southpaw that I said, why isn't Ben coming? Ben's reliable. Ben's, he's part of the podcast. He wouldn't let us down. And he said, air. And I said, what do you mean air? And he said, Moroccan air has basically made him bedbound. Tell me that's a wind-up, right?
Who said air made me bedbound?
Well, I've heard a voice note from you that you've said that it's the Moroccan air or the African air.
Yeah, mate, like sleeping in them rooms. Yeah, that's what I meant. Mate, we stayed in Riyadh. You know what that is?
It's in Saudi Arabia. Riyadh's in Saudi Arabia.
No, fam.
Yes,
Riyadh is a type of Riyadh is a type of house in Morocco, in old Morocco. So the house is like 1,000 years old.
Right. But Ben,
So the air is also 1,000 years old, you see.
so is it the 1,000-year-old air that's made you bad?
Right, I have me on here. No, staying in that room after first night, I was dead.
Look at that. I love this, man. I love when you put these coughs in. It's a good performance, mate, but don't go in for any Hollywood roles just yet, mate.
Thanks, mate.
You know what I mean?
Thanks.
Well, listen, you're a disgrace, mate, with the best respect in the world.
Off the pod.
You've really let us all down there, mate, but, we hope you can get over the air and, hope we've said a prayer for you, mate. We've said a prayer for you.
I appreciate that, mate. Sounds good.
All right, mate. Watch what you're doing. See you soon. Bye-bye.
All right, speak soon, bye.
Air.
So, man, he's not used to the air.
Moroccan 1,000-year-old air.
Brilliant.
It's knocked him bad. Well, listen, on that note, everybody, can everybody give a thought for Ben and his air problems? This has been People Like Us. Thank you for listening, and we will see you again soon.